I'm going to start by giving us the big picture of how the whole audio system works so that as we get into the details later on, you can start to see how each of those pieces of the puzzle fit into this, the broader picture. If our goal is to have a balanced and polished mix, we'll need to understand how each component in the audio pathway affects the sound. So let's start where the audio first begins, what's called the source. A source can be many things. It could be a voice, a snare drum, a keyboard, a pastor, or any other element that is producing sound in some way that we would like to amplify. Let's follow the pathway the audio takes on its journey from the source to our listeners' ears. The first step then is to capture the source's sound, either with a microphone or a more direct method like a cable plugged directly into the source, like for instance with a keyboard. We'll use a vocal as our example. As the vocalist sings into the microphone will pick up the sound, using its unique microphone characteristics to determine exactly how the sound is picked up, and then send it along the audio cable, called an XLR cable, to then be an input into the audio console. So you've got the mic, you've got a cable plugged into it, and it's transferring the sound to the audio console. This pathway from the microphone cable to the audio console will look different for each of us, but many times it will run through maybe like a stage box or a snake that will take all of these XLR inputs and combine them into one cable that then goes into the audio console. Either way, all of these different inputs will make their way into the audio console, each representing a different source or microphone on stage. An audio console is what's going to take the audio from all of these individual inputs, so that's your microphones, a keyboard, and all the other sources on stage, and then mixes them down and send them as the final product to the sound system so that the audience can hear. Let's dig a little deeper into the audio console as, for many of us, this is the part that can feel a little bit overwhelming at times. I'd love to help simplify this spaceship that you're seeing in front of you. There are many, many different audio consoles available out there. However, all of them will generally fall into one of two categories. You've got analog. This is the first audio console style and features all physical buttons, knobs, and wiring, or analog. And simply, the audio signal flows along these wires until it's manipulated by physical knobs, buttons, or faders. Now, to be honest, I had to do some research to learn the technicalities of how analog consoles work because for many of us, myself included, we're most often utilizing a digital console. Digital consoles take the audio in the same way as analog via physical audio cables. However, they process all of the signal digitally and allow for much more manipulation, visualization, and use of the tools before spitting the signal out to the sound system. Here are some of the most common digital consoles you may have seen that are floating around. But of course, we're going to start with the most common in my experience for churches, and that's the Behringer X32. There's like 1 million of these in circulation globally. I was in the UK recently and visited some churches, and it was the same console that they had there as well. So it's very worldwide. It's important to keep in mind that no matter your audio console, whether analog or digital, high-end or inexpensive, they'll all play with very similar tools, and it matters more the knowledge and skill that you bring to the console than the features and tools the console brings to you. Let me say that again. It matters more the knowledge and the skill that you bring to the console than the features and the tools the specific console is bringing to you. You can think of different audio consoles kind of like different dialects of the same language. So here in America, I may be speaking with someone with a thick Boston accent that contrasts with my Texan one. Yes, we may need to speak a little bit slower or give more explanation at times for certain cultural terms, but in general, we're speaking the same language and the majority of it will translate well, even if it requires a bit of learning along the way. In the same way, different audio consoles will use the same tools, but may occasionally have slightly different synonyms for the features and settings that they offer. In this collection of series, we'll do our best to stay broad and primarily teach on tools that are available on the vast majority of consoles, but always keep in your back pocket that you can cross-reference terms or tips learned here to your console via your console's user manual or YouTube trainings that are specific to your audio console. Now, what are we going to do with this audio system? Let's briefly discuss our goals when mixing. Again, this should be tailored to your context. However, there are some general guiding principles that can be helpful for all of us. Number 1, create a balanced mix. What I mean by this is nothing feels out of place or overemphasized in the mix, but it's also that the mix is not lacking any of the energy from the band that we need to have that full and balanced mix. A mix can often be greatly improved, not from finding the perfect compressor or dialing in the effects just right, but by simply balancing the different inputs to have balance and ensure the important elements on stage can be heard. That brings me to our second primary goal, pleasant and present vocals. One of the unique things about mixing for worship, as opposed to another genre or style of music, is the importance of the vocals to what we're doing. At its core, our role in mixing is to aid the congregation in hearing the Word of God and participating in worship through singing alongside those leading us in worship. Thus, it follows that a primary objective for us has to be having clear, pleasing to listen to, and present vocals in our mix. Goal number 3, avoid distractions to protect this compelling and beautiful gathering that we're fostering. We've all been in environments where audio issues, whether that's feedback, a mic being muted when it shouldn't be, or another distraction, takes you out of the moment you were in. We want to do everything in our power to mitigate these distractions and ensure our congregation can focus on the things that matter. Remember that most won't leave remembering how great the snare sounded, but all will notice if the pastor begins speaking and their mic isn't unmuted. But how do we get there? These goals seem simple enough. However, as you may have found, the pathway to getting there can be a little bit more complex. But that's why I'm here for you. So now that we have the big picture in mind, let's zoom in and we're going to look at the components of a channel strip.